Hello, welcome to Productions MJC. My name is Mark. Today we're going to be discussing my next challenge, challenge number 2. And that challenge is radio wave travel proves curvature. Now there are some people who are going to just instantly wrinkle their nose at that, but stick with me here. Now we all know that this is the globe version, where VHF and UHF pass right on through, and HF up, 30 megahertz below, that just bounces right off the ionosphere and comes back. But that, like I said, that's the globe version. So distance, how far can a radio wave travel? Now there are people that talk around the world, across the world if you're a flat earth believer. So how far can that go? Here's the representation of what the globe Earth says. There are surface waves, space waves, sky waves that bounce off the ionosphere and such. And this is how the wave propagation shows, direct waves, ground reflected waves, surface waves, the sky wave. And how does that work, though? Well, this is the daytime 28 megahertz propagation representation. So you've got different places that it hits. Either it hits along the bottom in certain areas and it's dead silent in the middle there, or it bounces up and down and goes to here. It's about every 1,000 kilometers in range. So what is that? Well, roughly that's 621 miles. It varies with conditions and the height of the receiver as opposed to the transmitter and such. Well, in the 1980s, I did this. 685 miles. I communicated. I was 16 years old, 17 years old when I got a ham radio. Well, I got a CB. My dad got a CB, and then I got into ham radio just a few years after that when I could afford the equipment. But I did talk to a gentleman who went by the handle of Brother Jim, and he was down around San Diego, and I was up around northern Utah, and it was about 670 miles away, 685, somewhere around there. Now with ham radio, because it's VHF, UHF, it doesn't go as far, and you need repeaters. On a globe Earth, this is the model. This is what we say happens. Now, in my first challenge, only, I think it was Mark Sargent replied. Nobody else. Nobody else has even said anything. They sure say a lot on their videos, but they don't say anything about my challenges. Not much at all. Flat Earth killer number 2, loss of signal. No, that means line of sight. There's an LOS when the person, just gets out of range. That's not it. This is line of sight is what we're talking about here. The line of sight is an absolute killer for flat Earth. And I'll explain what happens. Because on this, you could just simply communicate from one place to the other. It's flat, and radio waves should pass all over the place. Straight line of sight, because you don't need the ionosphere bounce. You've got transmitter, receiver, skip long-range communications. This is what the flat Earth folks say. It's not an ionosphere. Well, there are some that say it bounces off the dome or the firmament, but most of them say, no, it's just straight line of sight transmission. What you're saying is bogus. So why do we need all of these control mechanisms for now this is the long-range radar plan to watch the skies and air traffic control method to make sure that everybody stays safe. Why don't we just have 3? Why don't we just have one for the western, one for the middle, and one for the eastern because of the terrain? The one in the middle, we should only need one in the center because everything's flat as a board in there. So why do we need so many? Because this is what the flat Earth folks say, that we don't need the sky waves. It's not really a sky wave. Everything is direct wave. That's what they claim. Well, that doesn't fit into this because there is the UHF repeaters especially. I worked in the 440 range, stuff like that. So there's no direct line of sight on where these repeaters are. Now the flat earthers say, oh yes there is. Well, why then does this tower here in Valley City, that's a TV tower, and why does the next tower, which is the absolute tallest one in the world, let alone the United States, this thing has a total transmission distance of about 55.6 miles, and we have that right there. So what are we talking about? Well, the KVLY TV mast, which is owned by Gray Television of Atlanta, Georgia, it broadcasts at 356 kilowatts on channel 44 for television station. And think about it. The range is 55.6 miles, and that's it. And that thing is 2,063 feet high. And here's what it broadcasts. 44 megahertz, I mean, channel 44 is 650 to 656 megahertz. There's different things where they transmit channel 1, channel 2 digital, and they transmit audio and everything. So they just take up that full range. But that's really high, and why does it only go 56 miles at 356 kilowatts? What's going on there? Well, at that range, you should be able to, people in Des Moines, Iowa, because it's flat as a board, should be able to see it, and so should people in Sioux Falls. I mean, here's Bemidji over on the right, where the arrow's pointing between about 56 miles between the transmitting tower and Fargo. Well, see, Fargo, Grand Forks, and Bemidji, if that tower was located in the middle, would only be able to serve those three cities, and that'd be it. Because of curvature, this is the way that HF or lower frequencies work. They bounce, but the thing that doesn't bounce is the high frequencies. Remember this one? This was only 27.205 channel 20 on the CB band, where I communicated over 680 miles, 670 miles. Haven't really measured it exactly, but see, VHF and UHF, they scoot on through. That's why this didn't go anywhere at all. So think about it. With 4 watts of power, I transmitted 685 miles. But this tower can't do 56 miles at 356 kilowatts of power. What's going on there? That's the only direct line of sight there is. This is off metabunk.org's curvature calculator, and if you can look at that and see, I mean, there's no way it can transmit further. The HF frequency, represented by the red arrow, just scoots off in and out into space. It does not go anywhere. But if there was a flat Earth, it should be able to be heard a lot farther than it is. But the reason it isn't is because this distance, this curvature calculator shows. Now, the reason I chose 2,000 feet instead of 2063, because 2063 is the top. This thing has an antenna array that's about 113 feet of its total distance. You know, 2063, 100, subtract 113, cut that in half. I'm just going with an average mean. But you'll notice the horizon is 54.77 miles, and the hidden, I mean, it physically can't travel any far because of curvature. That's it. That's the only answer. That much power, that thing should be heard in Iowa. It should be heard in St. Louis, Missouri. But it can't be because of curvature. Oh, and by the way, if you do take up this challenge, any of you, let's stay on topic, okay? On the first challenge, I get this guy who says, "Nice try, man. Show me a picture of your globe Earth." I have to remind flat earthers a lot that you need to stay on point. And like I did to this person, that's not the point. keep on task. If someone asks for the distance to the train, you don't ask them for a picture of a mountain. They need to stay focused. So, distance to the moon, your turn, go. And with this one, curvature stops that high frequency signal. It's like a laser beam of power that just can't go any further around the Earth because the Earth is round. So thanks for watching. I appreciate you looking at this. Now give this to all the folks that I challenged in my first challenge that nobody's even tried to prove it wrong. They ask me erroneous questions and they can't. So they don't try to focus on the question or the challenge at hand. Let's stay on challenge, folks. Let's try to get with this. And don't be fooled by their slick presentations. They're slick, but they won't answer a question, a direct question. Why can a radio signal with such intense magnitude and power not travel any farther than 56 miles? Because of curvature. There's nothing else that can stop it. The land's flat as a board. The base of that tower is 975 feet above sea level, and then you stick on another couple of thousand feet, and 356 kilowatts of power? And I bounced a signal off the ionosphere with only 4 watts? People, come on. Please like and subscribe. Spread the word. Keep the truth flowing. I mean, once you sit down and you just relax and think, a signal that can actually almost fry a bird if it's trying to land on it next to it can't go more than 56 miles. It's not because it just peters out and dies. It's because the curvature of the Earth. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. This has been Mark with Productions MJC.